Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today, we are going to go over a list that got #1 Mythic on the MTG Arena ladder. While we're still waiting on data for Historic and Explorer as well as Alchemy for the weekly meta breakdown, I thought we'd kind of highlight in between some decks that are doing well for folks and kind of give you something to at least play or give you an idea of what the format's looking like before then. And I usually like to showcase, where possible, kind of different #1 decks wherever we can. So this list comes from Kepler's 84, so congrats to them for a hell of a run. They went 68-12 with a take on Historic Mono Green Devotion, and we'll go card by card, kind of look at what they did, how they kind of approached the format. But just shout outs, always impressive to get #1, especially it's been halfway through the season. Like, I was able to get #1 one month, but I got it within the first 3 days. To do it like mid-month takes like a lot of, a very high win rate. 85% in best of 3 is quite insane. But we're going to jump into the list itself and take a look. So we're just going to go over to the Arena client. And the big card that we got in the most recent set was Utopia Sprawl. So the way that the meta has kind of shifted in Historic, it is very much dominated by Bowmaster. So where we once had, the 10 to 12 1-mana elves, they're all 1 toughness, and that is basically illegal in Historic now. It's 1 toughness is banned based on Bowmaster, so you can't play that. You're also getting rid of the Leyline of Abundance, so the enchantment. It always felt kind of bad when you didn't have it in your opener, and oftentimes it was a kind of like virtual card disadvantage in that sense. But you kind of got some value, but I think this version's a little bit more sticky. The Utopia Sprawl is also harder to interact with, given that it's an enchantment versus just a creature. So you have 8 1-mana accelerants. You have the Delighted Halfling, while now not able to produce green mana, so it does limit your ability to turn 2 Old Growth Troll. You can Polukranos, it is legendary, so it allows you to do that. It does have the upside of allowing you to have uncounterable, so sticking like a Kiora or a Karn is quite impactful, similarly with like Nissa and Vorinclex on the top end. 2 copies of Invasion of Ixalan, kind of our Oath of Nissa type card. This helps you dig for key pieces, in particular the Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, which is the engine of the deck. 2 copies of Wolfwillow Haven, so basically 10 pieces of cheap ramp effects. You have the Old Growth Troll, Polukranos, Kiora package. Kiora is a big engine in this deck. Both giving you card draw when you play creatures, but then also tap and tapping to allow you to generate huge amounts of mana with the Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. This deck's also playing Grizzled Huntmaster in addition to Karn to allow you to have a toolbox. So late game, if you do have Delighted Halflings in hand, well, you can upgrade it to something in your sideboard. There's a single copy of Timeless Witness. This is kind of an Eternal Witness adjacent card that we got in Modern Horizons 2, I believe. And this has Eternalize, so even if you mill it over, you can get it back from your graveyard. This allows you to potentially rebuy any of your kind of single threats or loops like that. Cavalier of Thorns is a big way to kind of help you mill into your Nykthos, as well as just allowing you to have a big body with reach, a lot of relevant stats. When it dies, you get to kind of recycle a card back into your library on top. The Vorinclex is an interesting one. We don't see too much of this, but comes in 5 mana, 6/6, reach, trample, decent stats, pulls 2 lands from your library into hand, so thins it out, gives you some more gas in terms of just hitting land drops, and then you can flip it. It lets you mill 10, you put creatures into play, you put counters, and then lets you fight. So kind of a big mana sink option there. Nissa, who shakes the world, very powerful in green-based decks with forests, lets you double up mana, and then creatures, and then this allows you to have some combo elements, which we'll talk about in a sec. And then Storm the Festival helps you find any of your key permanents, including the Nykthos. So sideboard is going to be a bunch of 1-ofs, as is with most of these Karn decks. So we'll kind of go over option by option. So you have the Tormod's Crypt, Graveyard Hate, Haywire Might, Artifact, Enchantment Hate, notably can get rid of the One Ring. And then it's Exile, it also gains you some life. Pithing Needle for activated abilities, think things like Yawgmoth, Teferi, anything of that nature. Stone Brain for combo decks. Pestilence Cauldron, you're casting it for its restorative burst that lets you kind of recycle things from your graveyard. You could kind of loop it with, you have 2 Karns, 2 Kioras, to like one of each in play, one of each in your graveyard, and you have enough mana. I think it's 15 or 16 mana. You can loop an infinite amount of times as fast as you can click, and then just gain you a bunch of life. There is the combo in Pioneer where you can mill out your opponent by casting Pestilence Cauldron, but I don't believe with this version there's anything that makes black mana, so you can't actually produce the black mana in this case. So you can't actually get them that way there. Staff of Domination is kind of the combo card here. So for 1 mana, you can untap Staff of Domination, and then this lets you untap target creature, notably, for 3 mana. So with, if you animate like a Nykthos with either Nissa, or if you animate a land that could generate more mana just with a bunch of Utopia Sprawls or stuff, and then you can tap untap, basically generating infinite mana with the with the Staff of Domination. You can generate infinite mana, you can pump it into like a Lair of the Hydra, you can draw your deck effectively, hopefully they don't have a Bowmaster out, you can tap all their creatures down to get you the Alpha Strike, so there's ways to kind of go with that. You can basically draw your whole deck, find everything you need, and kind of win that way. There's also another way to animate your creature. We'll kind of skip ahead to Woodcaller Automaton. So when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it on tap target land, it becomes a tree folk with haste and base power and toughness equal to Automaton's power. So this is another way to kind of animate your effects. So you can kind of draw out your whole deck, play out your whole deck, and then with Akroma's Memorial, it lets you have flying, first strike, vigilance, haste, trample, protection from black and red. And then it lets you just kind of, so you play out your whole deck, play out all your creatures, and then you play Akroma's Memorial, and then you can attack it. A lot of kind of clicking in that sense, but even just getting value of like, playing a bunch of stuff, drawing a bunch of cards, plays pretty well. Cityscape Leveler, blow up non-permanent of your choice. Bramble Familiar is a creature target. So some of these can be both Karn targets and the Huntmaster. So things like Levelers, creature, and an artifact. Bramble Familiar can be fetched if you need like a mana accelerant, but also lets you just mill with fetch quest and kind of find any of the lands or creatures that are relevant in the matchup. Liquid Metal Coating with Karn. So if you have Liquid Metal Coating, you turn a land into an artifact, and then with Karn, you can plus and it destroys. You can also turn something with an activated ability into an artifact, and with Karn Static, it turns off the ability to activate. So you can like target Yawgmoth, and then Karn Static means Yawgmoth can't sacrifice creatures. So you have ways to kind of get them like that. Sky Sovereign to blow stuff up, Mightstone, Meatstone to blow stuff up like a Shieldred, but also to draw you cards if needed, and also helps you ramp to bigger artifacts. Wormcoil Engine, both targetable with Huntmaster or the Karn, gives you lifelink, and Death Touch, just a big beater. The Memorial we spoke about, also just kind of incidentally good against pulling against like Rakdos or black-based decks. Woodcaller is the combo piece, and then Darksteel Citadel as a way to tutor a land drop if you're missing that. So if you go Karn on like 3 or 4, you need that land drop to hit your 5th mana for like Cavalier or something like that, you can go with that sense. So interesting to see how that is playing out. So like I said, the card that's like fallen out is the Leyline of Abundance. So this card was seeing a lot of play previous that allows your mana dorks to tap for an additional mana. This is a very good mana sink late game, but it doesn't play well in a Bowmaster meta. Like you can do all these things, but if your creatures are dying, it doesn't really make much difference. So seeing like that. In Pioneer, there's some folks that have been trying out the Tortoise to allow you to mill, animate, and just have a reduced cost of activating Nykthos as well. I tried it in Best of One. It was a little slow, all things considered. I do like this kind of package, just kind of going bigger and then just having tutorable threats. With these Karn boards, with these Huntmaster boards, they're very flexible in what you can include in the sideboard afterwards. So this is always something you can revise like that. This version's obviously going a little bit more combo. The one card that I kind of wanted in the Rakdos matchup more than anything, so I wasn't playing Akroma's Memorial, but the card I did kind of want was Portal to Phyrexia, just at times to, like, they had 2 or 3 creatures out, just get them to sack, stuff like that. So that might be something to consider, but the Mightstone, Meatstone might also just address that in terms of dealing with Shieldred. You can do a bunch of broken things, but you get to a point at times where you can't draw cards. And the Cavaliers, the Kiora is not a May ability, you have to draw a card. So just losing outright to like Sheoldreds or Bowmasters kind of get you in that regard. Because while they can't necessarily kill your creatures, your bigger ones with Bowmasters, they can just target your face and then also create a big blocker in that respect. So that's it for today. Just kind of a quick deck tech. Congrats again to our friend Kepler's getting #1 Mythic. Crazy run. And we'll catch you next time. Like I said, I'll try to get out these stats. I messaged the guys from Untapped to see if they can lower the games played threshold to 50 games. So we get more stats that are coming in. For Historic right now, I can't get anything for best of 3. For best of 1, I'm just getting like old Wizards lists pretty much and Dredge. So it's not really a meaningful video. For Explorer, it's basically mono white humans and a Boros kind of prowess heroic deck that's not even including some of the new cards from the recent set. So as soon as I can get those stats out, I will get them out to you folks. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great one. Stay safe out there.